Hello and welcome. We're going to dive into the fascinating world of sourcing and procurement. And yes, I promise to make supply chain management actually interesting. I know. When you hear procurement, you might think of spreadsheets and purchase orders. But stick with me because this story involves corporate drama, billion-dollar gambles, and how one man turned inventory management into a superpower. By the end of this presentation, you'll understand why the person who manages your company's supply chain might just be your next CEO. Seriously, it happened at Apple. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's talk about how supply chains went from boring back-office function to strategic weapon. Alright, let's set the scene. It's 1998. Apple is in trouble, big trouble. We're talking about a company with over 100 suppliers. And I'm not exaggerating when I say some of them seem to be in a competition to see who could deliver parts the slowest. It's like they were racing snails and still coming in last place. Products were losing 1 or 2% of their value every single week they sat in warehouses. Think about that. Your shiny new computer component becomes yesterday's news faster than you can say Windows 98. Steve Jobs, the guy who told us all to think different, realized he had a problem that cool design and black turtlenecks couldn't solve. He needed someone who got genuinely excited about supply chain management, an integrated view of sourcing, operations, and logistics. I know what you're thinking. Who gets excited about inventory? Well, let me introduce you to that person. Enter Tim Cook. And folks, this is where it gets interesting. Cook came to Apple with 16 years of supply chain experience from IBM and Compaq. While Jobs was the creative genius dreaming up the next revolutionary product, Cook was the operational mastermind who would actually get those products into customers' hands. Now here's my favorite Tim Cook quote, and it tells you everything you need to know about the man. He told Forbes that he finds inventory fundamentally evil. He compared it to dairy products, saying, "No one wants to buy spoiled milk." Think about that metaphor for a second. In the technology industry, your components don't age like fine wine. They age like a banana left in a hot car on a Phoenix summer day. One day it's perfectly yellow, the next day it's brown mush that nobody wants. Cook understood something that many executives still miss. In fast-moving industries, sitting inventory isn't just costing you warehouse space. It's actively destroying value every single day. So what did Cook do with his inventory is evil philosophy? He went full Marie Kondo on Apple's supplier base. Except instead of asking, "Does this spark joy?" he asked, "Can you actually deliver on time?" The numbers here are staggering. He slashed the number of key suppliers from over 100 to just 24. That's a 75% reduction. Imagine walking into a room with 100 suppliers and telling 76 of them, "Thanks for playing, but you're not Apple material." But here's the thing, he wasn't just being mean, he was being strategic. For the suppliers who made the cut, Cook negotiated tighter relationships. In some cases, he literally asked suppliers to relocate closer to Apple factories. That's commitment. The message was crystal clear. If you want Apple's business, you need to be all in. No half measures, no, we'll get to it eventually. All in. Now let's talk about results, because this is where Cook's approach really shines. Look at these inventory turn numbers from 2012. Apple was turning over its entire inventory every 5 days. 5 days. Dell, a company famous for its supply chain, was at 10 days. Samsung, 21 days. Apple was running circles around the competition. While Samsung's products were sitting in warehouses for 3 weeks, Apple's products were practically sprinting from factory floor to customer doorstep. Why does this matter? Well, faster inventory turns mean less money tied up in products sitting on shelves, lower risk of products becoming obsolete before they're sold, more cash available to invest in innovation. Happier customers getting newer products. Cook turned inventory velocity into a competitive weapon. His competitors didn't even realize they were in a race until Apple had already lapped them twice. But wait, it gets even better. Cook wasn't just about efficiency, he was playing 4D chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Take the holiday air freight move. Cook bought $100 million worth of holiday season air freight capacity months in advance. So while competitors were scrambling to ship products during the crucial holiday season, fighting for cargo space like it was Black Friday at Costco, Apple products were flying comfortably in pre-booked cargo holds. Sorry, competitors, those seats are taken. Then there's the iPod Nano story from 2005, and this one is absolutely brilliant. When Apple introduced the flash-based iPod Nano, Cook prepaid flash memory suppliers $1.25 billion. He essentially bought them out of product for 5 years. Let me repeat that. He paid suppliers in advance to guarantee they couldn't sell to anyone else. That's not procurement. That's strategic warfare disguised as a purchase order. The result? Apple's market value went from $348 billion to $1.9 trillion under Cook's leadership, and you thought procurement was boring. Now, to appreciate how revolutionary Cook's approach was, we need to understand what purchasing used to look like. Let me paint you a picture of the good old days. Picture this. It's the 1990s. You're a purchasing professional. Life is comfortable. Someone in engineering needs something. You send out RFQs to the same list of suppliers you've been using since the Reagan administration. You pick whoever quotes the lowest price after a cursory check that the company actually exists. You enjoy free lunches with salespeople who tell increasingly elaborate phishing stories. And your performance measures? About as demanding as a golden retriever asking for belly rubs. The buying position didn't carry much prestige. Try impressing someone at a cocktail party by saying, "I process purchase orders." But it was stable. You showed up, you bought stuff, you went home. Rinse and repeat. Some buyers made entire careers without ever having to explain to senior management why they mattered. Then, as they say, the world rudely interrupted this comfortable existence. So what happened? Global competition crashed the party. New competitors from around the world started gaining market share with products that were, inconveniently for American manufacturers, both better and cheaper. Talk about unfair. American management watched their market share evaporate like ice cream on a Phoenix sidewalk. And they discovered these competitors had cracked a code that seemed almost magical. Their secret sauce was a completely different supply management model with 4 key elements. First, actually knowing your suppliers. Not just their names, but their capabilities, their constraints, heck, even the CEO's favorite coffee order. Second, real due diligence before signing contracts. Instead of, "Can you fog a mirror and quote the lowest price?" they asked, "Can you innovate with us for the next decade?" Third, looking beyond the usual suspects. The internet made it possible to find that perfect supplier in Taiwan instead of just calling the 3 companies in your Rolodex. Fourth, and this was revolutionary, actually inviting suppliers to participate in product development. I know, crazy idea. The people who make the components might have useful insights into how to make them better. Who knew? Now here's where things get really interesting and relevant to what's happening today. For years, the strategy was simple. If you can make it cheaper in China, make it in China. But then reality got complicated. Chinese labor rates increased by 64% from 2011 to 2018. Turns out Chinese workers also want raises. Shocking, I know. Then came the quality scandals, lead paint in toys, contaminated products. Companies learned that cheapest sometimes comes with hidden costs, like recalls, lawsuits, and appearing on the evening news for all the wrong reasons. Add trade wars and tariffs to the mix, and suddenly that simple sourcing decision became entangled with geopolitics. So now we have 2 emerging strategies. Reshoring, bringing production back to the US, and nearshoring, moving to Mexico or Latin America. Similar time zones, shorter shipping times, and if something goes wrong, you can visit in person without losing 3 days to international travel. Even Apple is diversifying. They maintain 200+ suppliers across 800 facilities in 43 countries. They're not abandoning China, but they're definitely not putting all their iPhones in one basket. Let's talk about customers. Remember when companies could just raise prices and customers would nod politely? Yeah, those days are over. Today's customers expect higher quality. Your product can't just work, it needs to delight. They expect faster delivery. Thanks, Amazon. You've ruined us all with 2-day shipping expectations. They want products tailored to their specific needs. Mass customization isn't an oxymoron anymore. And they want lower total cost, all of it, at once. And here's the scary part. If you don't deliver, they won't write you a formal complaint letter. They'll create a viral TikTok video roasting your product, post scathing reviews everywhere, and find your competitor faster than you can say, brand reputation crisis. The old saying was, a satisfied customer tells 3 people, an unsatisfied customer tells 10. On the internet, make that 3 million. Remember Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 battery fires? The internet never forgets. That story will show up in Google searches until the heat death of the universe. Let's geek out on technology for a minute because this stuff is actually pretty cool. Blockchain. Originally the darling of cryptocurrency enthusiasts and people who enjoy saying decentralized ledger at parties. Now it's being used for supply chain traceability. Want to verify that organic, free-range, ethically sourced component really came from where the supplier claims? Blockchain creates an immutable record. No more "trust me, bro." Artificial intelligence. Your new digital assistant that never needs coffee breaks or has bad days. AI can analyze thousands of supplier quotes in seconds, predict which suppliers are about to have problems before they even know, and identify cost savings opportunities that humans might miss. It's like having a tireless procurement analyst who works for the cost of some cloud computing. Robotics. Robots are now picking and packing items in warehouses everywhere. Amazon, Dick's Sporting Goods, and increasingly companies of all sizes. 51% of supply chain professionals now cite robotics as a competitive advantage. Oh, and here's a fun stat. Storing 1 gigabyte of data used to cost $0.10 in 2010. By 2020, less than $0.02. That's why all this is possible. Here's the most important insight of this entire presentation. Write this down. Competition today is no longer between firms, it's between supply chains. Let me say that again. You're not competing against another company. You're competing against their entire supply chain. When someone buys an iPhone instead of a Samsung Galaxy, they're not just choosing Apple over Samsung. They're choosing Apple's supplier relationships, Apple's logistics network, Apple's inventory management, Apple's ability to scale production, Apple's retail experience. The iPhone might be assembled in China, but the value comes from orchestrating hundreds of suppliers across dozens of countries, all synchronized to deliver a product that just works. The manufacturing, that's almost the easy part. The magic trick is the supply chain coordination. So why has supply chain management become so critical? 4 main reasons. 1. Information. Real-time visibility eliminates delays. Apple can see supplier inventory levels minute by minute. Response time has gone from weeks to hours. 2. Competition. Speed and agility are now survival requirements. Remember BlackBerry? In 2007, they dominated smartphones. By 2013, collapsed market share. What happened? Apple moved faster, innovated more aggressively, and had a supply chain that could scale to meet explosive demand. 3. Customers. We talked about this. They want customization, speed, sustainability, and lower prices. All of it. This is the new normal. 4. Risk. COVID-19. The Suez Canal blockage. Natural disasters, cyber attacks. Disruptions aren't if anymore, they're when. The ability to identify and mitigate risk isn't optional, it's essential for survival. Companies that ignore any of these factors, well, there's a reason we study them as cautionary tales rather than success stories. Let me tell you about a wake-up call that changed how companies think about supply chain risk. In 2011, a devastating tsunami hit Japan. Beyond the humanitarian tragedy, it became a global supply chain disaster that showed just how interconnected our world has become. Honda and Toyota had supply shortages for months because critical component suppliers were in the affected region. The total cost to Japan? An estimated $210 billion. But here's what surprised everyone. The ripple effects went global. Automotive plants in the United States and Europe shut down because of parts shortages. Electronics manufacturers worldwide were affected. Companies suddenly discovered they had hidden dependencies on suppliers they didn't even know about. The painful lesson: that cheap component from a single supplier seemed like a great cost-saving idea, until the supply stopped and your entire production line shut down. This is exactly why Apple uses multiple suppliers for the same component. It's not just about negotiating leverage, it's survival insurance. When one supplier has problems, production shifts to others. As Cook said during COVID, we're learning more about places where we have constraints and then working with our vendors on alternative sources. That's not panic, that's preparation paying off. Now let's talk about why your CFO should be paying very close attention to procurement. It's all about the math, and this math is beautiful. In manufacturing, about 55% of revenue goes straight to suppliers. Think about that. More than half of every dollar you collect goes out the door to pay for materials and services. Let's do a quick calculation that will make your finance team weep with joy. Starting point: $100 million in sales, 10% profit margin, $10 million profit. Now, your procurement team negotiates just a 5% reduction in purchase costs. Savings: $55 million times 5% is equal to $2.75 million. New profit: $12.75 million. That's a 27.5% profit increase. Here's the kicker. To get that same $2.75 million through sales growth, you'd need to increase revenue by $27.5 million, assuming you maintain the same margin. So you can either ask your sales team to bring in $27.5 million in new business, or your procurement team can negotiate 5% better deals. Which sounds easier? This is why smart CEOs pay very close attention to their supply chain leaders. Here's one of my favorite stories about supplier relationships creating unexpected value. Two executives, one from Shell, one from HP, were having what they thought was a routine conversation. HP provided various services to Shell, and as part of their relationship management, they met regularly. Because both companies valued innovation, their conversation turned to what was new in R&D. The HP executive mentioned research into a tiny wireless printer head using sensing technology. Now, most people would think, interesting. Anyway, but the Shell executive's brain lit up. Why? Because Shell's deepwater oil exploration also uses sensing technology to discover rock formations miles under the ocean. That simple conversation about a printer head sparked a collaboration between the two companies to develop technology for sensing geophysical data underwater. The quote from Shell's sourcing team says it all. Finding hidden capabilities is about putting each other's brains to work on challenges. You don't get that kind of innovation by sending an RFQ to the 3 lowest bidders and picking whoever can fog a mirror. Time for a cautionary tale, and this one involves yoga pants. Lululemon Athletica built their brand on premium yoga gear for customers willing to pay premium prices for premium quality. Stock was soaring. Life was good. Then March 2013 happened. Lululemon discovered their yoga pants had become, how do I put this delicately, see-through, as in transparent. The company had to recall pants nationwide. The story made national news. Social media had a field day. The fallout was brutal. CEO resigned in June 2013. Stock crashed from $79 to $61, a 23% drop. That's roughly $1.4 billion in market value, evaporated because of see-through pants. The lesson? You can have the best brand, the best marketing, the best retail experience, but if your supplier delivers poor quality products, none of that matters. Quality can't be an afterthought. It has to be built into your supplier relationships from day one. Want to improve your product development by 20%? Here's a simple trick. Actually talk to your suppliers before you finalize designs. Companies that involve suppliers early in the design process see an average 20% improvement across 3 dimensions. Material cost, down 20%. Material quality, up 20%. Development time, down 20%. That's not a typo. 20% improvement in costs, quality, and speed just by bringing suppliers into the conversation earlier. Think about it. The people who actually manufacture components might have useful insights into how to design those components better. Revolutionary concept, right? This is exactly what Apple does. Their 24 strategic partners aren't just vendors waiting for purchase orders. They're innovation partners who invest in understanding Apple's needs and often bring new ideas to the table proactively. When Apple develops a new camera system or display technology, those innovations often originate partly from supplier R&D. It's not Apple designing something and throwing specs over the wall. It's tight collaboration throughout the entire process. That's what turns a supply chain from a cost center into a competitive weapon. Breaking it down, entry level is at $88,729, not bad for starting out. Supply managers earn about $110,956, and vice presidents earn about $230,103. Now we're talking. Education pays off too. bachelor's degree holders earn 20% more than high school only. CPSM certification adds another 9% to your salary. Bonuses average 13% of base salary. And remember, Tim Cook started in supply chain operations. Now he's CEO of the world's most valuable company. The message is clear. Supply chain is no longer where companies put people who couldn't succeed elsewhere. Today, companies are recruiting top talent into procurement with the same intensity they recruit for finance, engineering, and marketing. Because your supply chain is your competitive advantage. And the people who manage it, they're indispensable. Let's look at who's winning and who's struggling in today's competitive landscape. Winners. Apple. $1.9 trillion market cap built on supply chain excellence. Amazon turned logistics into such a weapon that everyone expects 2-day shipping now. Zara can go from design to store shelf in weeks, not months. Toyota pioneered just-in-time and supplier partnerships. Strugglers, Sears, couldn't compete with faster, more efficient retailers. BlackBerry had a great product but couldn't scale their supply chain. Traditional retailers, many beaten by companies with superior supply chain management. Notice what separates these groups. It's not just product quality or brand strength, it's supply chain capability. The companies that configure the best supply chains become market winners. The ones that treat procurement as a back-office cost center, they become case studies in business school classes about what not to do. Which column do you want your company in? Let's bring this full circle with the key lessons from Tim Cook's transformation of Apple. Lesson 1. Inventory truly is like dairy products. In fast-moving industries, obsolescence costs will sink your margins faster than you can say new product launch. Lesson 2. Fewer, deeper relationships beat many shallow ones. Cook's 75% supplier reduction wasn't about being mean, it was about being strategic. Deep partnerships create advantages that competitors can't easily replicate. Lesson 3. Procurement can be strategy. When you prepay $1.25 billion to lock up supply, you're not just buying components, you're blocking competitors and securing your market position. Lesson 4. Speed matters more than you think. Turning inventory every 5 days versus 21 days isn't just a nice metric for the annual report. It's millions of dollars in working capital freed up for innovation. Lesson 5. The supply chain leader deserves a seat at the table, or in Cook's case, the top chair. His rise to the CEO role proves that mastering supply chain complexity creates enterprise value. These aren't just nice theories, they're the playbook that turned Apple into the world's most valuable company. So what does all this mean for you? The comfortable days of sending out RFQs, picking the lowest bidder, and enjoying supplier lunches are gone. That era is as dead as the fax machine. Today's supply chain professional needs strategic thinking. See the big picture, not just the next purchase order. Global perspective. Your competitors certainly have one. Technology fluency. AI, blockchain, robotics are your new tools. Risk management skills. Because disruptions will happen. Relationship building ability, key. Deep partnerships, not transactional exchanges. Innovation mindset. Suppliers can be sources of competitive advantage. Whether you're in procurement, operations, finance, marketing, or the C-suite, understanding how supply chain excellence creates value is essential. Here's the bottom line. Your supply chain is your competitive advantage. And the people who manage that supply chain, they're not just important, they're indispensable. The question isn't whether supply chain matters. The question is, what are you going to do about it? And there you have it. The journey from purchasing as a back-office function to supply chain as strategic weapon. Let's recap the key numbers presented earlier. In a typical manufacturing organization, 55% of revenue goes to suppliers. 27.5% profit increase possible from just 5% savings in the specific example considered. 20% improvement from early supplier involvement. $1.9 trillion in value created at Apple under Cook's leadership. Tim Cook understood something back in 1998 that many companies are still learning today. All the vision and design genius in the world is worthless if you can't execute on delivery. So he built a supply chain that became Apple's competitive moat. Hard for competitors to see from the outside, but absolutely critical to the company's success. Your challenge now, whether you're starting your career or leading an organization, is to understand how supply chain excellence creates value for your company. Because your competitors, they already do. Think strategically, act globally, execute flawlessly. Your supply chain journey starts now. Thank you for your attention. Now go make your supply chain a competitive weapon.